The stars above Earth were quiet that night, but the silence was a trap. Far beyond the moon, a massive alien armada waited in the shadows. Over 300 warships, black and red, glowing with cold energy, hovered in orbit. They called themselves the Varnock Dominion, and they had crushed dozens of civilizations before. Now it was Earth's turn. No warning was given. They dropped from hyperspace with speed, their cannons charged and their fighter wings already launched. Earth's satellites blinked out. Defense stations were vaporized in seconds. Panic spread. Across the globe, governments screamed into comms trying to coordinate a response, but the Varnock weren't interested in communication. They came to conquer or destroy. On the United Nations command ship, Sentinel-1, Admiral Reeves stood still, his eyes locked on the holomap that flickered with red lights. Each light was a Varnock ship. There were too many. Their own fleet, the Earth defense grid, had only 30 capital ships. They were brave ships, but outmatched, sir. A young officer called, her voice shaking. Varnock are moving into formation, planetary bombardment trajectory. Reeves didn't speak. He just stared, then gave the order every soldier feared. All remaining vessels moved to defend Earth's orbit. Prepare for full sacrifice. They would fight even if it was hopeless. The skies over Earth lit up. Fighter jets and space bombers launched. Streaks of light crisscrossed above the world. Cities went into lockdown. Children cried in bunkers. Families held hands, not knowing if they would see another sunrise. News feeds across the globe simply read, "This is it." The first wave hit hard. The Varnock's primary weapon platforms opened fire, raining plasma, bolts and kinetic hammers on Earth's outer defense wall. 2 Earth cruisers were torn in half, exploding into pieces that rained down into the Pacific. But even as the line broke, humans didn't run. They held their ground, they always did. From Antarctica to the ISS, messages came through the command channels. Standing by. We won't let them pass. For Earth. And yet, deep below the ocean, something else was waking. A signal, old and buried, blinked to life for the first time in centuries. Beneath the Mariana Trench, a vault opened, machines hummed to life, gears turned, and a dark shape began to rise. On the bridge of the Varnock command ship, High Commander Vathok laughed. "These Earthlings fight well," he said to his officers, "but it will not save them." He raised a clawed hand and pointed at Earth's northern hemisphere. "Begin." The final phase, but just then, the stars flickered. No, not the stars. A new reading appeared on every scanner, a new shape, large, impossibly large. From the oceans of Earth, the water boiled and twisted. A massive shadow moved under the waves, too big for any known ship. And then it rose. The sea split apart, and a tower of black metal rose from the deep. Panels unfolded. Engines hummed louder than storms. People on the coasts stared in shock, speechless. The Supercarrier. Eclipse had returned. Admiral Reeves froze as new readings flooded his screen. "Sir, it's Earth Tech," his officer whispered. "But it's not in any registry." The Eclipse kept rising, water pouring off its armored hull like waterfalls. It was larger than any battleship ever built, twice the size of the Varnock flagship. The ship's sides glowed with runes and energy channels that no one could understand. Its nameplate, half buried in rust, read, "Eclipse Class Leviathan." The Earth defense grid went silent, watching the beast rise. On the Varnock bridge, Commander Vathok leaned forward, his smile gone. "What is that?" he whispered without warning. The Eclipse fired. Just once. One beam of golden light erupted from its central cannon. It struck the lead Varnock cruiser. The ship disappeared. No explosion. No fire. Just gone. Like dust in the wind. The armada froze. The humans stared. Even Admiral Reeves whispered, "It's real." It was always real. Somewhere in the Eclipse's ancient control room, unseen by the world, a voice spoke in forgotten code. "System online. Threat detected. Initiating protective protocols." The skies had changed. The battle had turned. Earth was no longer prey. Now the galaxy would remember why humans were never meant to be underestimated. The ocean was still shaking. Waves crashed in all directions as the giant machine continued to rise. People all over the world watched from their screens, unable to believe what they were seeing. The Eclipse didn't just float, it hovered. Massive anti-gravity drives hummed beneath its belly, lifting the warship into the sky like a god returning from exile. No one knew where it had come from, not even Admiral Reeves. He was now staring at the live feed with wide eyes. Every military base on Earth was silent. The top scientists, generals, and commanders didn't have a single answer, sir. A technician said slowly. Eclipse is responding to our command signals. Reeves blinked. Wait, what? It's running on ancient Earth protocols, sir, she continued, her hands shaking. Coded in Cold War encryption, 200 years old, maybe more. On the command screen, a simple message blinked in blue letters. Defender class, active, identify target. Before Reeves could respond, the Varnock armada moved again. They were angry now. The loss of their lead cruiser had stunned them, but now they wanted blood. Hundreds of ships began shifting, forming a battle wedge meant to crush Earth's last hope. From the sky, the Eclipse rotated slightly. Its sides opened, revealing rows of strange glowing cannons. They didn't look like any current Earth weapon. Curved, humming with golden light, powered by something unknown. But they were real, and very ready. Inside the Varnock flagship, Commander Vethok growled. Destroy that thing now, he ordered, before it activates again. Dozens of Varnock ships opened fire. Energy bolts, plasma torpedoes, and black matter. Bombs flew through space like angry stars, but the Eclipse didn't flinch. Its shields, invisible to the eye, lit up as the first wave hit. A dome of shimmering light expanded from its hull, absorbing everything. Then it responded, this time not with one cannon, but 20. Light erupted from the Eclipse in all directions. Varnock ships exploded in waves, torn apart by energy that bent reality. A battleship cracked in half. A carrier vanished like smoke. In less than 1 minute, 50 alien ships were gone. The rest of the fleet hesitated, and in that silence, Earth's other ships regrouped. Admiral Reeves gave the order, all remaining Earth vessels, form up behind the Eclipse, let's move. For the first time in this war, hope returned to the humans. But the mystery of the Eclipse only grew deeper. In Earth's Central Command, underground near Geneva, the AI historian known as Core 12 accessed forbidden archives. The file opened with a creak of ancient data. It read, Project Eclipse, classified Leviathan Protocol, initiated 2139 AD. According to the logs, Earth had built the Eclipse long ago during the Collapse Wars. It was meant to be the last hope, the final guardian in case humanity ever faced extinction. But after peace was restored, the Supercarrier had been sealed, hidden beneath the oceans, forgotten by time. Only an emergency signal could wake it. And the Varnock invasion had been that signal. As the news spread, human colonies on Mars and Europa began cheering. Ships that had gone into hiding started rejoining the defense. Even neutral species across the galaxy tuned into Earth's broadcasts. Everyone was watching, everyone was afraid or in awe. Back in orbit, the Eclipse launched something new. It wasn't a weapon, it was a drone, smooth and silent, carrying a message. The drone flew into Varnock space and projected a single image. A ruined Earth city rebuilt, standing strong, and the words, "We do not kneel." The Varnock hesitated again. This time they didn't laugh. They whispered, "What else is Earth hiding?" Commander Vethok snarled, his voice trembling for the first time. "Retreat is not an option," he shouted. "There's still only one ship." But even his officers looked unsure. Suddenly, new readings flashed on all scanners. Not just one. Eclipse-class ship. 3 more were rising from different oceans, Pacific, Arctic, Indian. They came slowly like giants waking from deep sleep. Admiral Reeves whispered, "There's more." There's more of them. Humanity's secret wasn't just a single superweapon. It was a fleet. The Varnock armada broke. Some fled into hyperspace. Some surrendered. A few brave ships stayed and fought, only to vanish like the rest. The sky was now ruled by Earth not because they were many, but because they had prepared for this day long ago. And now, the galaxy was watching, and the galaxy would remember. From the depths of silence, humanity had roared. The eclipse hovered high above Earth's skies, glowing like a god of war. Its massive shadow stretched over cities, oceans, and forests. People watched from rooftops, from bunkers, from shattered buildings, staring at the impossible. The world had been on the edge of death just hours ago. Now the eclipse stood between Earth and total destruction, but even as it hovered, the ship was not alone anymore. Across the planet, 3 more massive ships broke through the waves. Each, one different in shape, but all forged from the same ancient design: black metal, golden lines of power, rotating cannons, and shields that shimmered like the night sky. The world had forgotten them. They had not forgotten the world. On board the Eclipse, deep inside its dark command bridge, a human figure stood in silence. She wore no military uniform, only a black bodysuit with golden trim. Her name was Captain Ilara Quinn. She had been in cryosleep for over 200 years. Her orders were clear: awaken only if Earth faced extinction. As the ship's systems powered fully online, she looked out through the forward display. "Threat confirmed," she whispered, her voice steady. "Mission active." Behind her, the AI known as Argus responded. "Eclipse online. Shield status, 97%. Main cannon recharging." Ilara placed a hand on the smooth surface of the control panel. "Prepare for fleet sync," she said. "Wake up the others." In the depths of the other 3 ships, Vigil, Phantom, and Titanus, cryochambers opened. Officers and engineers gasped for breath as they returned to life. Some looked confused, others shocked. But one thing was clear: they were Earth's hidden guardians, built in secret, trained in silence, and awakened only when no other hope remained. Above Earth, the 4 supercarriers aligned in a diamond formation. They didn't just move. They danced through the sky like ancient titans. Varnock scanners picked up the signal and froze. This wasn't just one ship. This was a fleet. Hidden, forgotten, and deadly. Commander Vethok, now aboard his backup command cruiser, was screaming. "How can this be?" He yelled, slamming a clawed fist on the control screen. "They were primitives. How did we miss this?" His officers didn't answer. They were too busy watching the feeds, too busy fearing what would come next. Back on Earth, Admiral Reeves was finally connected with Captain Ilara Quinn. Her face appeared on the screen, calm, serious, glowing in blue light. "Admiral," she said, "you've held the line well, but now the Leviathan fleet will finish it." Reeves couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Captain Quinn, we thought the eclipse was a myth," he whispered. She didn't smile. "It was meant to be," she replied. "Myth keeps enemies careless." The 4 ships began charging weapons, but it wasn't just firepower they brought. From their underbellies, thousands of drones launched, sleek and fast, shaped like metal falcons. These were not like modern human fighters. These were Leviathan tech, autonomous, intelligent, and fast enough to outrun Varnock missiles. The Varnock fleet, what remained of it, began to scatter again. But one squadron of elite destroyers remained, led by Varnock warlord Drathus, a battle-hardened beast with scars across his face. He refused to run. "They think their old machines will stop us," he growled. "Let's test them." The destroyers dove toward Earth, weapons blazing, aiming straight for the eclipse. Captain Ilara gave a single command: "Release the spine." The top of the eclipse opened, revealing a massive rail spike launcher. It fired a magnetic round so fast it broke the sound barrier in space. The lead Varnock destroyer was torn in half instantly. The others turned, but it was too late. The drones were already there. They flew like swarms of angry birds, spinning and weaving between enemy fire. They weren't just fast, they were smart. They calculated every shot, every turn, every weak spot. Within seconds, the Varnock destroyers were reduced to scrap. The battle was no longer a fight. It was a lesson. All across the galaxy, broadcasts showed Earth's victory. On planets where humans were once laughed at, crowds now watched in silence. Species that once ignored Earth were now sending envoys, some to ally, others to beg. Inside the eclipse, Captain Alara watched the screen as the stars grew quiet again. She knew this wasn't over. The Varnock had many more fleets, and other enemies were watching too. But now the universe knew. Earth was not weak. They had bled in silence. They had built in secret. And now? They had awakened their titans. Begin Phase 2, Ilara said. The eclipse turned toward deep space. The Leviathan fleet was ready to leave orbit, not to hide again, but to carry the war into the stars. The eclipse moved silently through the stars. Behind it, the three other supercarriers, Vigil, Phantom, and Titanus, followed like silent shadows. The Earth was now behind them, safe for the moment, but the war was not over. Not even close. Captain Alara Quinn stood in front of the wide viewing deck on the eclipse. Her eyes scanned the data floating before her. Maps, energy readings, encrypted, transmissions. Everything pointed in one direction. Varnock Command Nexus, hidden in a red dwarf system known as Zarneth 5. She knew this wasn't just about protecting Earth anymore. It was about ending the threat completely. You don't leave the snake alive after it strikes, she whispered. Behind her, Argus, the ship's AI, responded. Agreed, Captain. All systems charged. The fleet is in formation. The Leviathan fleet didn't need fuel like normal ships. They ran on a self-sustaining quantum reactor system called Black Core. It was banned across the galaxy due to how dangerous it was. But Earth had built it anyway. Quietly, secretly. For a day like this, a hyperspace corridor opened, glowing with electric blue light. The fleet entered one by one. Space bent around them as they traveled faster than thought. Destination, Zarneth 5, the Varnock's secret fortress world. Meanwhile, in the Varnock Nexus, Commander Vethok sat in a deep chamber carved into an asteroid. He was no longer proud. He was afraid. Reports came in from scouts. Earth supercarriers. En route, unknown weapon systems. Enemy fleet size unknown. Vethok growled and slammed his metal claw against the wall. How did they do this? He hissed. He turned to the screen showing his war council. Alien generals with sharp eyes and cruel mouths stared back at him. We need reinforcements, one said. We need the Omega Flame, at the edge of Varnock territory. Massive space. Gates opened. Out came the Omega Flame, the pride of the Varnock Empire. It was larger than even the Eclipse, made of dark red metal with giant spikes. It carried planet-killer cannons that had destroyed entire colonies. Its captain was High Warlord Razek. He had never lost a battle, and he had no intention of losing one now. When the Leviathan fleet exited hyperspace near Zarneth 5, the Omega Flame was already waiting. Dozens of escort ships surrounded it, glowing with deadly light. But Alara didn't slow down. She stood on the Eclipse bridge, calm as the stars outside. They came prepared, Argus said. So did we, she replied. The battle began without warning. Omega Flame fired first. 2 burning red beams shot across the void. They hit Phantom's shields, causing them to flicker violently, but Phantom held. Then it fired back, using graviton torque missiles that bent time just before impact. 2 Varnock escorts exploded in a storm of metal. Drones flew like sparks between firestorms. The space around Zarneth 5 turned into a dance of death. Explosions, energy pulses, and shattered debris lit up the dark. Every second, ships died. But the Leviathan fleet didn't break. They moved like one being, like a machine with a soul. On board, the Omega Flame, Warlord Razek stood tall. He watched as his ships fell one by one. His eyes narrowed. They are stronger than we thought, he growled, but they bleed like all others. He activated the Nova Pike, a weapon meant to pierce planetary cores, and aimed it directly at the Eclipse. The beam fired, pure white energy, faster than light. Ilara saw it coming. She didn't panic. Activate Mirror Bloom, she ordered from the Eclipse's sides. 12 shimmering discs emerged, spinning and glowing. They caught the beam mid-space, split it, redirected it. The Nova Pike's power was turned against Razek's own fleet. 6 of his escorts were destroyed by his Own weapon? For the first time, Rozek stepped back. What is this technology? He gasped. It's impossible. But it wasn't. It was Earth tech, ancient, hidden, forgotten, and now reborn. The Eclipse charged its core cannon again. Ilara watched silently. This ends now, she whispered. The cannon fired, not a simple shot but a burst that folded space around the Omega Flame. It crushed shields, burned armor, and struck the command deck. Omega Flame shuddered, burning, failing, screaming through the comms. Rozek's last words were never heard. The explosion was so large it lit up 3 moons of Zarneth 5. And then, there was silence. Varnock forces surrendered in waves. Some ships self-destructed to avoid capture. Others just floated, helpless. Inside the Eclipse, Argus spoke softly. Enemy flagship destroyed, battle complete, Varnock Nexus defeated. Ilara nodded. Broadcast to the galaxy, she said. Let them know what happened here. Across every known world the message played, the image of the destroyed Omega Flame, the symbol of Earth, and one sentence, we are no longer the hunted, and so the war turned, not just for Earth but for all of humanity. The stars were no longer safe for their enemies because the Leviathans were awake, and they were coming. The ashes of the Varnock fleet still floated over Zarneth 5. The Omega Flame was gone. Its twisted remains slowly pulled into the orbit of a dying moon. Earth's Leviathan fleet stood silent, victorious, but not celebrating, because this was only one war. And now others were watching in the deep regions of space where no starlight reached. Alien eyes blinked awake. For centuries they had monitored from the dark unseen the destruction of the Varnock. Nexus triggered ancient alarms. Data surged through hidden networks. A new power had risen, and it was human. Back on Earth, the planet was healing, fires were out, skies were clearing, children no longer cried at night. But even as peace returned, questions filled the air. Where did the eclipse come from? How long were we preparing? Who else knew? News anchors tried to explain. Conspiracy theorists screamed they had been right, but no one had the full truth. In a hidden council chamber beneath Mount Denali, the Earth Strategic Command gathered. Only 12 people sat around the black stone table. They were the highest-ranked leaders from military, science, diplomacy, and intelligence. At the center of the table, a hologram of the Leviathan fleet spun slowly. We've exposed our greatest secret, said General Holt, his voice like gravel. We've shown our teeth. Now everyone will come knocking. Let them knock, whispered Director Fay of the Intel Corps. They don't know we've barely scratched the surface. Beside them sat Admiral Reeves, looking older than he had just days before. He leaned forward, fingers laced. The galaxy thought we were weak, slow, scattered. Now they know better. Now they know we've had a plan all along. But not everyone was pleased. On the far side of the galaxy, the Galactic Unity Council met in emergency session. Species from over 60 star systems attended, some in person, some by holo. Words flew like sparks. Earth has super weapons. Earth hides Leviathan-class ships. Earth has violated Galactic Peace Code 47A. A tall insectoid ambassador slammed its claw on the table. They're a Tier 2 civilization with Tier 6 firepower, it hissed. They must be stopped before they dominate the stars. But others weren't angry, they were afraid or impressed. In the diplomatic ship Hopewalker, an alliance envoy from the Velari Empire traveled toward Earth. She was young, noble, and curious. Ambassador Lyrian. She had grown up believing humans were interesting but primitive. Now she had seen the footage of the eclipse vaporizing the Omega Flame. Now she wasn't sure what to believe. Her ship docked at Earth's orbital station Unity Arc. When she stepped off the ramp, dozens of human officers stood waiting. At the center stood Captain Ilara Quinn. Their eyes met, and for a moment time slowed. You are the captain of the eclipse, Lyrian said softly. Ilara nodded. And you are the first outsider to stand before me without fear. Lyrian offered her hand. I came to talk, not to kneel. Ilara smiled for the first time in days. Good, she said. Because Earth doesn't want servants, we want equals. Behind them, Unity Arc opened a path for the ambassador to enter. Inside were images of Earth's past, its wars, its triumphs, and now, its leviathans, but elsewhere in the system, other ships began to arrive. Not all of them peaceful, some cloaked, some armed. Scouts from minor empires, warlords, and tech raiders, each one hoping to steal a piece of Earth's hidden strength. The Earth defense grid went into silent alert. The Eclipse, Vigil, Phantom, and Titanus remained in orbit, watching everything. Ilara's voice echoed through secure channels. "Let them come," she said. "We have shields they've never seen, weapons they can't understand, and most of all, we have Unity." Onboard Titanus, Chief Engineer Rami unlocked a vault that hadn't been opened in 250 years. Inside were weapons never tested, armor grown from synthetic cells, satellites that could bend light, and something called Project Horizon. "Should we activate it?" A technician asked. Rami paused, then shook his head. "Not yet," he said. "But soon, maybe." Meanwhile, human scientists analyzed the remains of Varnock tech from Zarnath 5. They discovered something unexpected. Fragments of a signal, not from the Varnock, but from something older. A frequency buried inside the Omega Flame's black box. The signal pulsed 3 times. Then a word in Earth's old code. "Awaken." Captain Ilara reviewed the data. Her expression changed from calm to cold. "If this is real," she whispered, "then the Eclipse was not the first Leviathan." She turned to Argus. "Trace it." The AI responded instantly. Tracking signal origin. Triangulating. Location found. Far beyond known space. Ilara stared into the stars. "I think we just made enough noise to wake something older than war." And the Leviathan fleet prepared again. Not for battle, but for discovery, and whatever waited in the dark beyond. The maps, Earth would face it. Because Earth was no longer afraid, Earth was ready. The Eclipse floated like a black mountain in orbit, its hull glowing with faint golden lines. Below it, Earth glimmered in peace, cities alive with light once again. But on the command deck of the Eclipse, there was no peace. Every screen, every console, every sensor was alive with strange data. Captain Ilara Quinn stood silently, her arms crossed, eyes fixed on the strange pulse signal they had captured from the wreckage of the Omega Flame. It was weak, almost broken, but it was there, repeating every few hours, 3 pulses, then a pause. Then the word in ancient Earth code, "Awaken." Argus, the ship's AI, spoke in its calm, synthetic voice. "Captain, the signal origin has been confirmed. It comes from deep beyond the charted rim. Coordinates suggest a system 400 light-years. From Sol, in the Veil Nebula." Ilara did not answer right away. She knew what it meant. Someone had built the Eclipse, Vigil, Phantom, and Titanus. But maybe Earth had not been the only one. On the Unity Arc station, Admiral Reeves argued with the Earth Strategic Command through a secured holochannel. "This is reckless," he snapped, his voice hard. "We just revealed our greatest weapons, the galaxy is already suspicious, and now you want to send the Leviathan fleet into uncharted space." General Holt replied calmly, "If we ignore that signal, someone else will follow it. Do you want another Omega Flame, but 10 times worse?" Reeves clenched his jaw, then finally nodded. "Very well, but this mission could change everything." Ambassador Lyrian of the Velari sat quietly in the chamber, her golden eyes watching the humans argue. When the debate ended, she stepped forward. "Send me with them," she said softly. The generals looked shocked. Reeves raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Lyrian smiled faintly. "Because the galaxy does not trust you yet. But if I go with your fleet, they will see more than fear. They will see cooperation." Ilara was not sure if she liked the idea, but she respected the courage. "Fine," she said. "But understand this, Ambassador. Once we enter the Veil, there is no guarantee of return." Lyrian nodded. "I was born among stars that never forgave weakness, Captain. I am not afraid." 3 days later, the Leviathan fleet departed. The Eclipse led, followed by Vigil, Phantom, and Titanus. Behind them, Dozens of Earth defense ships escorted until the hyperspace gates closed. The world held its breath as the Titans vanished into the void. The journey through hyperspace was long. Shimmering blue tunnels twisted around the fleet. Engines howled with power older than memory. In the silence of the voyage, crew members whispered to each other. What would they find? Was it another weapon? Another fleet, or something worse? On the Eclipse, Ilara stood with Ambassador Lyrian on the observation deck. "You fight with such fire," Lyrian said quietly, "but I see weariness in your eyes." Ilara did not deny. We carry the weight of survival," she said. "Humans have always been underestimated. That is why we built the Leviathans hidden in the deep, waiting, because we knew one day the stars would come for us." Lyrian looked at her with respect, and now, "The stars are afraid of you." Days passed, then the fleet arrived. The Veil Nebula stretched before them, glowing red and blue, swirling like a living storm. Inside its depths, sensors caught something massive. At first it seemed like a planet, round and dark, but as they drew closer the shape shifted. It was no world. It was a shipyard, bigger than moons, stretching across light years, broken but alive. Gasps filled the command deck. Argus reported immediately. Leviathan signatures. Detected dormant constructs. Estimate 6 Supercarrier-class vessels inactive. Ilara's chest tightened. "There are more of us," she whispered. But the shipyard was not empty. As the Eclipse scanned further, hundreds of smaller ships stirred. They weren't Varnock. They weren't human. They were something else, drones, automated guardians built to protect the ancient place, and they had detected intruders. Red lights filled the void. Thousands of defense drones came alive, their weapons glowing with plasma heat. Argus sounded. The alarm. Warning. Enemy signatures. Numbers overwhelming. Initiating combat protocols. The fleet tightened formation. Shields went up. Weapons powered. Ilara raised her voice. "All hands. This is not a drill. The shipyard has teeth. Let's see if we can bite harder." The drones swarmed like a living storm. They weren't slow or clumsy, they were fast, precise, calculating every weakness. Dozens slammed into Phantom's shields, sparks and fire burst across its hull. Titanus unleashed a railstorm, tearing through swarms of enemies. But for every drone destroyed, 10 more appeared. Ambassador Lyrian gripped the rail beside her, her voice sharp. "Captain, this is not just defense, this is a test." Ilara's eyes narrowed. A test. She looked at the drone's attack patterns. They weren't trying to destroy the fleet. They were measuring it, studying it, like hunters judging prey. "Then we give them an answer," Ilara growled. "Eclipse, full power. Release the Spear of Dawn." From the ship's core, a massive beam cannon deployed, brighter than a sun. It fired straight into the heart of the drone swarm. The light split the nebula in half, vaporizing thousands of machines. For a moment, the stars went silent, then slowly the swarm pulled back. Not destroyed, not broken, but retreating. The drones returned to the shipyard walls, vanishing into the black metal. A voice filled the Eclipse. Not from the comms, not from Argus, but from everywhere at once. It was deep, metallic, but carried something alive. Leviathans return. Humanity endures. The trial begins. The crew froze, Ambassador Lyrian whispered. "You didn't just find weapons, Captain, you found their makers." And Ilara knew the true battle had not yet begun. The galaxy thought Earth was dangerous, already. But if these ancient builders returned, humanity's rise would shake the universe even more. The voice still echoed through the Eclipse. Leviathans return. Humanity endures. The trial begins. Every crew member stood frozen at their stations, eyes wide, breath caught. Even Argus, the ship's AI, hesitated before speaking. "Captain, this signal does not match any known species in our records. It is ancient, older than the Varnock, older than even the earliest council archives." Captain Ilara Quinn's face was unreadable, but her voice was steady. "Open a channel. Let's answer them." Argus obeyed, broadcasting across the shipyard's frequencies. "This is Captain Ilara Quinn of the Earth Leviathan Fleet. Identify yourselves." At first there was silence. Then the nebula stirred like something massive was waking within it. Lights spread across the giant shipyard, illuminating broken towers, endless hangars, and dormant ships that looked like sleeping gods. And then, slowly, a shape emerged, not small, not fragile, but colossal. It was a vessel even larger than the Eclipse, its hull black as night with veins of silver energy. The crew gasped. Admiral Reeves, watching remotely from Unity Arc, whispered through the comm line, "By all the stars, that thing makes the Eclipse look like a child." The voice returned, this time clear. "We are the architects. We forged the Leviathans when the galaxy was still young. We built guardians for the unworthy and the forgotten. Now we ask you, humanity, are you worthy of the fire you carry?" Alara felt the weight of history pressing on her chest. She glanced at Ambassador Lyrian, whose golden eyes burned with shock and curiosity. "They were never your ships," Lyrian said softly. "You found them? You inherited them?" Ilara clenched her fists. "No, we earned them. Earth bled for survival, and we woke them because no one else would protect us." The architect ship pulsed with energy, as if judging her words. Then, hundreds of drones launched again, but they did not fire. Instead, they formed a circle around the Leviathan fleet. Boxing them in, Argus spoke quickly. "Captain, they're projecting a trial environment, a simulated combat test. If we fail, they may deactivate our Leviathans permanently." The order came instantly from Alara. "Form Leviathan Diamond. Shields linked. Weapons calibrated. We pass this test or we die trying." The sky burned as the trial began. The drones shifted, forming shapes like entire fleets. Illusions turned real. Phantom was assaulted by ghost cruisers firing ion bursts. Titanus was swarmed by spectral frigates. Vigil was boxed in by carriers launching endless fighters. The Eclipse itself faced a mirror, a simulated copy of itself, every weapon, every shield, every maneuver copied perfectly. Crew members shouted, "How do we fight ourselves?" Ilara's eyes narrowed. "We do what humans always do. We adapt." The simulated Eclipse fired its core cannon, but Alara ordered the real Eclipse to hold. At the last second, she angled the shields, creating a prism effect. The beam reflected. Back at the Phantom, tearing its hull in half, the crew erupted in cheers. Alara only whispered, "They may know how to build ships, but they don't know how we think." On Vigil, Commander Rami activated the graviton torque weapons in a risky maneuver. He overloaded them, knowing it might burn out the ship's systems. The weapons fired, bending space around the false carriers. In a single ripple of energy, the entire swarm collapsed into itself. Vigil shook violently, sparks bursting across the decks, but it held. Phantom and Titanus fought back with brutal precision. Every drone destroyed brought another. Every false cruiser shattered returned in a new form. But the humans refused to give ground. They bled, they sweated, but they did not break. "Ambassador," Lyrian gripped her chair, her voice trembling as she watched. "No other species would dare this. Most would beg for mercy, but you spit in the face of gods." Ilara didn't look at her. "Because we've never had gods, Ambassador. Only enemies who underestimated us." The trial raged for hours. Finally, the last wave of illusions collapsed into sparks. The drones pulled back, returning to the architect ship, and for the first time the giant vessel bowed its head slightly. The voice returned, slower now, heavier. "Humanity has passed. Fire still lives in your hearts, stronger than when we first lit it. You are not children of weakness. You are predators of survival. We will not take the Leviathans from you." The crew let out a collective breath. Some laughed, some cried, but Ilara stood tall. "What happens now?" she asked. The answer shook every soul. "There are more, Captain Ilara Quinn. Far beyond your reach. Hidden Leviathans across the stars. Built for those who proved themselves, but none have awakened them. None but you. Now the galaxy will fear. Now the galaxy will hunt you." The architect's ship slowly vanished into the nebula, as if dissolving into mist. The trial was over, but the message was clear. Earth had not just revealed its strength, it had inherited a legacy older than empires. On the observation deck, Lyrian looked at Alara with both awe and dread. They will all come for you now. Not just the Varnok, not just the weak, but every empire that dreams of ruling the stars. Alara's voice was steady, her eyes burning. Then let them come. The Leviathans are awake, and humanity has no intention of kneeling ever again. And as the fleet turned toward home, the stars themselves seemed to tremble, because the galaxy had seen Earth fight against death itself and win. The Leviathan fleet returned to Sol space like kings returning from exile. Eclipse, Vigil, Phantom, and Titanus glided into Earth's orbit, their golden lines glowing brighter than ever. Crowds gathered across the world, watching the skies with awe. For the first time in history, humanity was not afraid of what hid among the stars. For the first time, they knew the stars should fear them. But peace did not last long. Across the galaxy, the Council of Unity screamed with anger. Some species demanded war, others begged for treaties. Fear turned into desperation, and in the shadows, empires began plotting. Every ruler now dreamed of stealing a Leviathan for themselves. In the hidden chambers beneath Mount Denali, Earth's leaders gathered again. General Holt slammed a hand on the table. They will not stop. They will come at us from every angle. Spies, sabotage, direct invasion. They want our ships, our weapons, our secrets. Director Fay replied coldly. Then we do what we've always done. We prepare, we fight, we survive. Admiral Reeves leaned forward, his voice tired but fierce. No, we do more than that. We lead. Humanity cannot stay hidden anymore. We've revealed the Leviathans. The galaxy knows our strength. So now, we must shape the future. The room fell silent. Even the ambassador of Valari. Lyrian listened carefully. Reeves continued. Earth has always been underestimated. They called us fragile. They laughed at our small fleets. They treated us as children. Now they know better. Now they will follow us, or they will break. Lyrian stepped forward, her voice steady. And what if they refuse to follow? What if they choose to burn instead of bend? Ilara Quinn answered from the holoscreen, her eyes calm but sharp. Then they will learn what the Varnok learned. The Leviathans are not weapons of conquest. They are weapons of survival. And survival is something humans never lose, the Council voted. The decision was made. Humanity would no longer be silent. They would declare themselves a power equal to any empire. The Terran Accord was born. On Unity Arc Station, the first great announcement was made. The symbol of Earth, a blue-white circle with 4 golden lines crossing it, was broadcast across the stars. Ilara Quinn's voice followed. This is not a warning. This is not a threat. This is a truth. Humanity has risen. We will not conquer, but we will not kneel. We seek peace. But if you bring us war, we will answer with fire. The message traveled faster than light. It was received on colony worlds and hidden bases, in royal palaces and pirate dens. Some scoffed, some trembled, but none ignored it. On Mars, factories worked day and night. New ships were forged, drones were improved, weapons upgraded. On Europa, scientists studied fragments from the architect's shipyard. They discovered designs for even greater constructs, something beyond Leviathans, something called star forges. The name alone carried a weight like thunder. Meanwhile, deep in the void, the architects themselves watched. Their voices echoed in forgotten halls of energy and stone. The humans carry the fire well, one said. They will either burn the galaxy or light it anew, another replied. Back on the Eclipse, Ilara stood on the viewing deck, her eyes on the stars. Lyrian stood beside her, the alien ambassador, now more ally than observer. You know they will come for you, Lyrian said softly. Ilara's lips curved into the faintest smile. They already have, and we're still here. Below them, Earth spun quietly. Children laughed again, cities rebuilt, oceans calmed. But above, the Leviathan fleet waited, silent and deadly. Every world knew the truth now. Humanity had been prey once, but never again. And in the darkness of distant space, the whispers grew louder. Pirates spoke of human wrath. Merchants prayed for human protection. Soldiers dreamed of human courage. The galaxy had shifted, and there was no going back. When night fell over Earth, the eclipse lowered slowly into the oceans again. Hiding in the deep, its golden lights faded into black, but its presence was felt everywhere. Every empire remembered the moons of Zarnath V glowing red with the destruction of the Omega Flame. Every ruler remembered the trial in the Veil Nebula. Every voice remembered the message, "We are no longer the hunted." And in that silence, a new age began, the age of humanity, the age of the Leviathans, the age when Earth's hidden supercarrier emerged from nowhere and shocked the universe forever.